Hello and welcome to the Forzamotorsport 4 Corsa VXR Cup. Here we have highlights from Race 2 around the Iberian race circuit. The grid order for the second race would be reversed from qualifying from Race 1, which meant that Dan Film in the Pertec car would be on pole, with Fisher in the hot lap tuning in second. Rox and Bob on a bike were in third and fourth, while the winner from Race 1, Blue, was in fifth. The two first gear cars were in 6th and 7th, and Sir Seg and DZ Turbo were in 8th and 9th, having not set a qualifying time for Race 1. Gazor, Benekum and Small Blaze were all forced to retire following damage in Race 1. Off the line, and the two front row cars of Dan Film and Fisher were to get a good launch. Red Rox, however, was to struggle and would drop back to 4th as Blue took the position into turn 1. Further back, however, chaos would ensue, with DJ in the end being spun around. Here we look at a different camera angle, and he was basically boxed on the inside, and through contact with Seg and Rox he ended up turning around. Casino had also struggled off the line. Coming through the fast apex, Bob's run slightly wide, but had held position in 4th, while the fast starting Seg had managed to make his way up to 3rd. Through turn 1, and Dan was battling out with the two hot lap tuning cars, however slight contact and he was spun around onto the grass, and while he could still resume, he was then dropped to the back of the field. Into the hairpin, and with Bob running slightly wide, the two hot lap tuning cars were now right behind him, battling it out for the lead. Seg was in 4th with Turbo in 5th and Casino down in 6th. Into turn 1, and they were to go 4 wide, which was never really going to work. In the end, Seg was forced out onto the grass, and in recovering was hit Turbo and then ended up back up on the grass, allowing Casino up to 5th. The battle for second looked like it all might end in tears as Blue, Fisher and Turbo tried to go 3 wide into the double apex corners. Turbo and Fisher ended up running wide, meaning Blue could keep his second place. Coming into the hairpin, and Fisher locked his brakes, narrowly avoiding a spin, with Casino having to take a void in action. Seg was now right back into the battle. Into the first corner, Turbo ran slightly wide, allowing Fisher to pull up alongside him, and as they came into the fast left-hander, Fisher moved up to 3rd. Casino was also keen to get past Turbo, and as a better run out of turn 4, he pulled alongside him. Seg also had a good run, and they tried to go 3 wide again. This time they weren't so lucky, with Casino being spun and hitting the wall, allowing both DJ and Rox past. While Casino could continue, his car suffered heavy damage. Following all the battles for 2nd and 3rd, Bob had managed to pull out a decent lead in 1st, with the two hot lap tuning cars back to squabbling over 2nd position, Turbo slowly falling behind them. Further back though, DJ was to suffer a blow when his car suffered an electrical fault and was forced to retire. It would only be 2 laps later when Seg would then suffer the same fate. A few laps later, and the two hot lap tuning cars were still arguing over 2nd place. As Blue ran slightly wide out of turn 4, Fisher needed no invitation to take the place. As they'd fought, they'd been slowing each other down, allowing Bob to start pulling away and Turbo to catch them up. Coming into the hairpin, Fisher outbraked himself, and with a little nudge from Blue, he ran wide, allowing Blue to move up a position again. Rox was driving a fairly solid, if lonely, race in 5th, following the damage he'd suffered in turn 1, who was falling further and further behind 4th place man Turbo. Casino, having recovered from his spin and fixed his car up a bit, was in 6th and beginning to catch up to Rox, although he's still a long way to go. The battle for 2nd was still raging on, with Turbo now right in the middle of it. As the 3 of them fought, they were not really making any ground on 1st place man Bob. As they came into the hairpin, Fisher was to outbrake himself again. This presented the best opportunity Turbo had had. As they came out of the hairpin, they got alongside each other. After a slight bit of nudging, Turbo was then to move up to 3rd. Fisher was having none of it. As they came down the hill, he pulled out the same move he'd done in race 1 to move back up to 3rd. Turbo was still determined in his 3rd position, and with the inside line into turn 4, he thought he'd got the job done. With both cars on the grass, Turbo ended up running slightly wide out of the exit, and Fisher held his 3rd position. Rox's race, however, was to suffer a blow, as coming up the hill he lost control of his Corsa, causing it to spin. While causing his car no damage, he was able to continue. He did lose a lot of the gap he'd had to Casino. And sure enough, it wasn't long before Casino was alongside him, and into the first corner it looked like he was up to 5th. Although Rox pulled out a clever switchback move, and coming down the hill he had the position for the next corner. Although it's clear that the first gear car was quicker, and with a better line into turn 4, Casino was finally able to get 5th position. Back at the front end, Bob was still out in the lead. Having managed to drop Fisher and Turbo, Blue was beginning to catch the leader, however there's only a few laps remaining. With just 2 laps to go, as they came through the double apex corners, Blue gave Bob a slight nudge, and as Bob ran wide into the hairpin, Blue was able to move up to 1st. Only for, on the last lap, Blue outbraked himself into the first corner. This gave Bob a much better line as they came through the fast second corner. As they went through side by side, there was a slight exchange of paints, although Bob was now on the inside and for the best position to take the fast downhill section. Despite Blue's best effort, Bob was to take the win in the second race of the Corsa VXR Cup. Blue came in second, while Fisher held off Turbo for 3rd. Despite his earlier spin, Casino was to come home in 5th, with Red Rox being the last of the finishers in 6th. So here we have the full race results. Bob on a Bike takes his first ever win in the Forzamotorsport 4 Corsa VXR Cup. The 2 hot lap tuning cars of Blue and Fisher were in 2nd and 3rd, while the Red Bull car of DZ Turbo was in 4th. Casino Royale finishes 5th ahead of Red Rox in 6th. Dan Films, Seseg the Great and DJ Land Rover all failed to finish the race. Here's what it does to the championship. In the drivers, Blue Jabber X is in 1st on 73 points. Bob on a Bike is the highest ranked privateer in 2nd on 61. Fisher is slightly ahead of Casino in 3rd with 48. Turbo is then slightly ahead of Rox in 5th. For the teams, Hot Lap Tuning have taken quite a big lead over Team First Gear, while Red Bull and Rox Motor Racing move ahead of Coca-Cola due to the fact that Seg failed to finish, with Pertec down in last. That's it, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope you can join us for the next round of the Corsa VXR Championship. Until then, goodbye.